was absolutely thrilled to come across Ilana Jankovic, founder of Mindful Money Coaching, when I was hosting International Coaching Week for the International Association of Professional Coaches and Mentors just last week or the week before. I was entirely riveted by her talk on money archetypes and what recognizing them can do for us. I mean, as most of you know, money mindset is something that I've been struggling with and that I really want to understand how I can have a better relationship with money. So anyway, when I asked her if she could share with an amazing audience of fabulous After 50 ladies, she immediately said yes. So I'm extremely grateful to have you here, Ilana. So maybe we start with you maybe sharing a little bit about who you are, what you do, and why you do it before we get into the topic of what money archetypes actually are and why it matters.
Julie, first of all, thank you for having me and thank you for this exciting opportunity. Love speaking about money. As my friends always say to me, they think I'm weird, that I enjoy talking about money and I'm not embarrassed about it or shy about it. I never used to be, but now I can proudly say that I have a good relationship with money. So yeah, Mindful Money Coaching came out of my need to go for coaching when I was having issues with money, which was from my childhood where I grew up in poverty as my mom was widowed at a very young age with 5 children and really, really struggled. I remember her talking about taking from Peter to pay Paul, and I never knew what she was talking about. I remember her saying, don't get out of your school uniform, your brother has to wear it. I remember all those things that she had said. I remember us fighting over things that came into the house, and I'm talking about food, because everybody would want that because they knew tomorrow it wasn't going to be there. I also remember that it was really tough for her as well as for us as children, because we saw our friends having holidays, doing things that we never had. And literally, I know that when you set an intention to manifest something, if you have very clear clarity, like I had as a young child, you manifest that. And my intention was, I was not going to live that life. Right. I was not going to struggle like her.
And this was in South Africa, right?
It was in South Africa. And unfortunately, we actually do. We repeat the same patterns as our parents, unless we actually see where's it coming from? What are we repeating? What are the beliefs? What are the behaviors? And when I grew up and I had my children, I overindulged them. I gave them every single thing that I could possibly give them because I didn't want them to have the shame that we'd gone through, that we knew we were the poorest kids in the school. We knew that we were only in this private school because my mom had connections and she worked in the lunchroom, etc. And we knew that we were the poor kids. So I wanted my children to have everything. And I went crazy. I literally got myself into huge amounts of debt because I wanted to please them. I wanted to give them, I didn't want them to ever feel that they were missing out. So every opportunity, I took it. And that's where I got into lots and lots of financial trouble. And a lot of the time, we buy and shop out of guilt or shame or secrecy.
Right. Or just with the idea that buying something will make us feel good. What's it called again? Retail therapy, right? The buying will be giving ourselves a gift.
The retail therapy, the addictions. I was trying to fill this emotional hole that I couldn't fill with stuff, with buying for others. And it was so interesting because I never bought for myself. I bought for others. I bought to show that I was good enough, that I had money. So I bought very expensive presents for families. For family, I bought for my own children the latest, the most expensive, the smartest. I remember going on holiday one year with my husband, and the summer holiday, and I said to him, do you have swimming shorts? And in his wardrobe, he had about 3 pairs, still with the labels on, that I'd bought him. When I went to go and look in my wardrobe, I never even had anything to swim in. I hadn't
Yeah.
bought myself a swimming costume.
And you were probably not aware then, if you already had 3 pairs for him, that it had nothing to do with having enough. It just had to do with the fact that you had to have the latest one or a different color or.
But I was always buying for others. I wasn't buying for myself because in my mind, I was still poor.
Yeah.
But it was that I didn't want anybody else. I didn't want the children to feel poor. So they had everything. My husband had everything.
So how did you even become aware of this? Because we're talking about this is something then totally, I know, yeah.
Subconscious. My marriage started being affected. All we were arguing about was money. And it became unbearable.
Because you had all this debt, right? So which must have terrified your husband.
Well, I kept hiding the bank statements and things, the post that would come. I knew that if I could get to the post before him, I was okay. And when the phone calls would come and they would say, you haven't paid these bills, whatever, he hadn't seen it. So that gave us a little bit longer time. But we'd get into enormous arguments about me spending money. And he'd say to me, you spending our pension. And he's got a PhD in finance. I didn't know what he was talking about. It was like 20-something, 30-something. What do you want to know about pensions?
Right. So no long term, right? You needed it now. The long term was in the long term.
Yeah. And the thing is, I couldn't make sense of somebody at 50, that's years away.
Yeah.
And a lot of women have got that issue as well that I've come across. I mean, we call it the maverick, not planning for the future, no financial plan.
That's one of the archetypes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll get into that. But so did your husband give you an ultimatum? Like, well, Ilana,
He wrote me a letter and he said, speaking to you doesn't work. I've now realized I need to write to you. And I don't even know where the letter is, but he said, I really need you to listen. I really need you to take on board what I'm saying. I love you very much, but you're getting us into a lot of problems.
Right.
I could go into the bank, and in South Africa, they're very, very happy to give you debt.
Right.
They will phone. I remember one time I was with my mom. She was like 80-something. They would phone her up from a store or the bank and say to her, you've handled your account really, really well. We've actually increased the limit. You can go and spend another 20,000, whatever.
Gosh, they really feed the addiction, right? It's in their interest. They get more interest.
They get more interest. And I didn't understand this. She didn't understand this. She used to tell me what a wonderful payer she was. Meanwhile, I was actually giving her money to pay her bills.
Which you didn't have either.
She didn't have either because I was just repeating what she had shown. So we repeat the patterns from our parents. It got to a point where I think he'd had enough of me. And I spoke to a friend, and a friend said to me, why don't you seek somebody to help you? You don't have marriage problems. Your husband's incredibly supportive. The two of you should not be having all these arguments. Go and speak to somebody. And it took me quite a while because I actually took a money quiz, which told me that I was a fool, which is what we call the maverick now. I changed it because I was very, very offended by being told that I was a fool. And I was told that I was a tyrant, which is now changed to the ruler. And this really upset me quite a lot. And I felt that it was offensive and that I wasn't going to do it. But eventually it got to a point where I realized I need
help. All right. I need help.
Fix this. I need to find out, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I having these arguments every single month? Because I don't want to be having fights every month. With my husband, we don't fight about anything else except money.
Right.
Money is the top reason for divorce.
Is that true?
If people, I often say, because I do quite a lot of groups with women who are divorced, who've never handled money before, now all of a sudden have to handle money. I say to them, if you haven't dealt with money in a good way, you're going to deal with it in a bad way, in a negative way at some point of your life. You need to know what's going on in your relationship with your partner, with your family, with your money.
Yeah. And money's still got that taboo thing, right? We all know we live in a society which is money driven, right? We're not bartering. That's just what we've chosen. It's not good or bad. It's just the medium of exchange that we've chosen. Yet we have mostly very unhealthy relationships. So, and I mean, we're talking about a 50+ audience here. So people whose patterns have been going on for quite a long time, right? And we're not always aware of them, or we do have moments like, as I was sharing, and as most of you know from my social media, I've realized that the money is something that I have trouble with, whether it's a fear of attracting a lot of it and would it change me, whether it's a fear of being seen as somebody superficial, as somebody greedy, an evil person. We hear a lot also about the bad of money, but money is just money. It's what we do with it, which is the thing. So basically, because I do want us to get into the archetypes. So you got help, and it did help you, and so much so that you decided to make your career out of helping other people understand the underlying drivers in our relationship to money.
Exactly. And then I self-studied because the things I wanted to know, I couldn't find in a course. I couldn't
Right.
find how to fix these different things, how to fix myself.
Right.
I've read so many books and done so many online programs and signed up for so many different courses to just educate myself so that I could change the situation, that I could go from this poverty, scarcity mindset to abundance.
Right.
And then I started actually doing the coaching.
And then you created your own program, which I mean, I know is highly successful. I mean, Ilana has an absolutely incredible business, and how lucky we are that your hardship has meant that you have created something like this. I mean, I know already just from our International Coaching Week, the amount of clients who were just so grateful to find you and enroll immediately. What you do is extremely effective, and it's something that you have created, right? You've put together all the things that you thought are necessary to get to a deeper, it's a deep process, right?
The deeper we go, the more you can actually find the cause, find the seeds of how it got there in the first place and how do we change it.
I'm a big believer in that because I mean, I've been coaching for years and done I don't know how many courses or self-guided books or whatsoever on my money mindset, but I'm getting there, but I'm still not there. And then I'm thinking, well, there's only so much you can also do yourself, right? Because we don't have the knowledge. But secondly, we're very close to ourselves. There's not that sort of being able to see the big picture that the patterns run us. It's not us that run the patterns, we're in it. So I guess that makes it a lot harder to look at it. So I mean, what sort of people come to you?
There's normally three things. One is they don't have enough, or they have plenty, but they're afraid of losing it, or they feel they don't deserve.
Right.
And I predominantly work with women because I do group coaching or individual coaching. I have had men that I've worked with as well, and I do them individually, in other words, VIP.
Right.
But a lot of these women have got money. The relationship that they have, the way they treat money, the way they see money, is the way they see maybe a partner, maybe a parent. There's often the same energy that they have with money that they have with somebody else or something else.
Okay.
Because money is it's a flow. And sometimes when that flow is blocked, it can be somewhere else in their lives.
So it's the whole holistic approach, right? It's all about who we are as a person, our frequencies, our vibrations, and all the rest. Okay, so the archetypes. So what is a money archetype?
Okay, so Carl Jung, who was a Swiss philosopher and psychiatrist in the 1900s, who happens to come from Switzerland, where I live, started or created these archetypes. And the archetypes are behaviors and characteristics that show up in your life. They are not your personality. They're not your horoscopes. So they can change. I can get somebody with a 70% victim archetype. Straight away, I know this person's had betrayal. They've had an enormous amount of hurt. They've had some sort of abuse. Could be financial abuse, which a lot of women I work with experience. where the husband holds the purse strings,
Right.
and there's narcissism going on, or it could be some other pain that they're holding on to or loss that they've had. The archetypes will tell me what is driving the behavior, what's going on in their situation. And from the different archetypes, there's 8 different archetypes, it will tell me what things need to improve, what things need to change, and which ones need to come down. I sometimes work with women that have had burnouts. They're pushing to try and make more money because they just don't feel good enough. Doesn't matter how much money they earn.
Right.
And a lot of these ladies or men have had a burnout.
Right.
So as I said, there's 8 different archetypes, and I can go through them if you want me to.
Yeah, just go through them rapidly so that people can realize, how do we recognize them? That's something that you do, or?
They take the quiz and they will see what comes up for them.
That's right. Yes.
And the quiz is on my website. They then book a call with me and I can tell them exactly what needs to change, what's going on, where I think they need help, etc.
Okay. And that quiz is open for everyone, right?
Anybody can go on.
Okay, well, I'll make sure that the link's on there as well, that we have that in there. Okay, so 8 archetypes.
8 archetypes. The first one is the innocent. The innocent is somebody who tends to put her head like an ostrich in the sand and doesn't know what's going on in her money. Doesn't want to know, hasn't looked in a bank account, doesn't budget, is incredibly fearful and anxious when it comes to finances, and literally wishes somebody would just come and pay her bills, hands in the air, can't do this. And that to me is giving away your power.
Right, so it's waiting for someone to save us, right? It's a bit, the prince will come and he will solve all my problems and I'll be happy. Okay.
Those women need to get a wake up, because I was innocent. I had very high innocent scores. I didn't know what I was doing with money. Budgeting, it was like a swear word to me. My husband used to say to me, can't you budget? And it was like he was saying really bad words. The next one is the victim. The victim is somebody who has had a loss, a betrayal, some sort of, loss to them. And a lot of the time, it's come from childhood, where they're still carrying it. So they're living in the past. They're living out self-fulfilling prophecies. I can't do this. I'm not good enough. They can't show up. I'll never be good enough for that relationship. They self-sabotage.
Right.
And a lot of the time, this, as I was saying earlier, it's not only in your money, it could be in other areas. So somebody that's been through this could be in a beautiful relationship with the most amazing partner and will break up with them because she will think, I don't deserve this guy. He's too good for me, or this woman.
Okay.
Often that is stuff from the past, from the childhood. And the victim, there's so much fear and so much anxiety. They just want to be rescued. They want security, but they don't know how to get it.
Yeah, so it's not taking responsibility, right? A victim for me is...
They've got pain. They need help. There's a lot of forgiveness that needs to happen. And sometimes to other people, but most times
to ourselves.
Most times to themselves. They're carrying this unforgiveness to, I should have done this. I should have invested my money. I should have so much money when I'm 50 plus. We should be able to retire. We should be able to be doing this.
Right.
And there's all this anger that's going on inside. The next one's the martyr, which I see in most women, actually men as well. Be more of a giver than a receiver. Don't know how to receive. Somebody wants to pay for your lunch and you think, oh, my father said if the guy wants to pay for my dinner, he wants something from me. So all those money myths and all those things come up. I can't let somebody else see me like this, so I tell everybody I'm okay. Always doing the work, being the Cinderella of doing the work, everybody else enjoying themselves. So is a caretaker, is compassionate, but at the same time, really, really internally angry. Right. I don't get to enjoy. And that anger actually affects their health.
Yeah, because that's the thing. At this age, we start to, it shows up in other ways, right?
Okay. The martyr doesn't know how to receive, and that is often ladies in business who don't know how to charge. They just don't feel they're worth it. They deserve it. They feel they're fraud. Somebody's going to realize that they aren't for real, that they don't have all these degrees, and they're always putting themselves down.
Right.
So the martyr doesn't know her worth. Not good enough.
Yeah.
The next one is the ruler. The ruler is somebody who controls so smoothly that the person doesn't even know that they've been controlled and manipulated. And this was obviously what I was doing with credit cards and with my husband. The control comes from not being able to control something or things when you were a child.
Right.
And now you're controlling as an adult.
Yeah.
And I often get women who come to me that have eating disorders.
Right.
So it's not only about money. They're controlling what they can put in their body where they couldn't control what happened to them as a child. And
Right.
often it's abuse, sexual abuse, financial abuse, some sort of manipulation. So the ruler is one that needs to do a lot of healing. And I work with that. The next one's the maverick. The maverick is somebody who doesn't plan for the future, didn't learn about money. Most of us didn't learn about money at school, at home, or anywhere else. We never learned those lessons. And they don't know, like I was, how to plan for the future.
Right.
So they spend everything. They spend it today. They're adventurous. They shop. There's addictions. Many, many, many addictions. In Switzerland, I see and I work with women that have got loads of money that don't plan for the future, but have got addictions like plastic surgery, like handbags. Yeah. I had a call with a woman a couple of weeks ago, and she literally, behind her were these boxes in the wardrobe with handbags, Chanel handbags and Hermes and all these different handbags. And I was thinking, one of those handbags, you know, can pay somebody's salary.
Right.
So that's the maverick. And has the same healing process that they need to go through. But they need to know that it's even there.
Yeah.
The next one's the creator artist. The creator artist is somebody who is amazing at coming up with solutions to problems. And I often want the creator artist score high, because then I know they're able to meet somebody, sort the problem out, what the person's going through. Often these people are project managers, artists, or if they're on the spiritual side, the creator side, the yoga teachers, the cooks, those type of people. But they don't know how to charge. They don't know how to make connection between the material world and the world they live in.
I think that will resonate with lots of people.
Very different for them. They don't know how. And it was so interesting because there was a woman on Friday in your summit that signed up with me, started a group on Tuesday, and she went on Tuesday evening to a yoga class, and it was completely full. She's never ever had more than 2 people come in. And she emailed me or WhatsApped me on Wednesday morning, and she said, "What sort of black magic or sorcery is this?" Why? So I said, because you're starting to open your money mindset and realize that there's an abundance, and find the opportunities, and actually be present and consistent and show up. And that's why you had a full class.
Wow.
I just teach you how to keep it up. So the creator artist is somebody who doesn't connect. They hate money. They have a terrible relationship with their money. Really, really not a good relationship with money. Don't want to be in corporate, don't like money, don't want to charge people. So there's that that's going on. The next one's the hero. You will always find them the first person at the office, the last person to leave. They push, they're driven, they're very conscious, very wise, goal-orientated. But at the same time, they don't know how to set boundaries. They don't know how to delegate. They often are ones that I've seen burnouts in. Work with a lot of people that have had burnout that literally will have another one if they don't actually realize what they're doing, the patterns that they keep repeating. And the hero is somebody who doesn't know how to delegate. I say to my clients that have got high hero scores, bring the hero score down and delegate. Get someone to do your stuff for you. You don't have to sit and listen to all your interviews by yourself. Delegate it to somebody that you know that if you're helping them, you're feeding their whole family. You can go and do something else. Create money elsewhere. So that's the hero. The hero needs to be aware of what they're pushing, why they're pushing so hard. Where does that pressure come from? Were they told they weren't good enough? Were they told that they don't deserve the lifestyle they have and they feel they need to push really hard?
Right.
And a lot of people have that. And then the last one, the eighth one, is the magician. The magician is the one that everybody wants to be. And I often get women that come to me and say, make me a money magician.
Yeah.
The money magician is somebody who sees opportunities and takes them. She doesn't leave money on the table. She doesn't think, if I do that, I'm going to have to get out of my comfort zone and actually show up and complete something. She takes the opportunity, even if it's uncomfortable, and she gets the rewards. She makes more money. She's able to invest. A lot of us as girls were taught, or growing up, depending, and especially 50 plus age, save, 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 save.
Right, right.
We never knew how to save. We never knew how to budget. And we definitely didn't know how to invest. The magician knows how to invest. They invest in themselves. They invest in their future. And they invest for the next generation.
Yes, that's it as well, right? We're talking about contribution. It's really time that we become aware of this. And then once we know it, and I dare say we have a little bit of all of them, but we have a few which are predominant, right? And which run this relationship that we have with money. Then there's things that you also teach that people can do about it, right? Because obviously one thing is to be aware of it and recognize it instead of just giving in to all these different strategies that we've picked up and created as we've gone through life. But to actually be able to say, okay, I want to be a magician. That's basically the goal, isn't it, right? We all go towards the magician. Now, of course, I should have made a double episode out of this. We're running gently out of time, but okay, so if you had something that you wanted to say to 50 plus, or 3 tips, so we're talking about our relationship to money, about wanting to develop a healthy relationship about money, whether it's that we're not creating it or we're not asking for it, whether it's that once we have it, we just rapidly give it all away, whether it's spending money that we don't have. We want to have a healthy, abundant relationship of money where our bank account is in balance, I guess, right? That's our goal.
The 3 tips that I would say is you're never too old to do a money makeover.
True. I believe that very strongly. Yeah.
And to see where the money is coming from. Is money coming from one source, or can you create multiple streams of income?
Right.
Is it a book you have? Is it like you, a podcast, your coaching business? How are you creating wealth in your life? If you haven't done it, now's the time to do it. That's the first thing. So it's never too late to do a money makeover. The second thing is time is money. How are you spending your time? What are you doing? Are you charging for your time if you're given a service? What are you doing with your time? Or are you letting the days just go by and complaining that you don't have money? Or you being the magician and saying, I don't leave money on the table. I see that opportunity. Let me go for it, even though it's uncomfortable.
Right.
And then the third thing, know where your money is going and don't wonder where it went. It's one word for that. It's called a budget. Budget your money. Know what's in your bank account. Know what's going out of your bank account. Talk about your investments, your pensions. Talk with your partner and be aligned. There's nothing more beautiful than to give your family, than to have harmony when it comes to finances, not chaos.
And it is something we need to look at, right? I mean, I think a lot of us of this 50 plus generation were also brought up where it was men who looked after money, right? So it was either daddy who looked after money, and then it was, the husband who looked after money, or the brother or the uncle or whatsoever. So we haven't been brought up, but most of us are a bit like, ooh, money, even silly things like splitting a bank in a restaurant, a bit like, oh, no, I'm terrible with figures. It's time that we grow up. It's a scary time for lots of us. pension is coming. There's also in this group as well a very large amount of divorcees, or, let's say early widows, but then they're usually left provided for. However, a lot of us who do go through a divorce, and divorce as modern women, we suddenly have to think we need security. I mean, I know that's a big thing on my list is I want financial independence, and I want more financial security for the future, Julie. I want to be able to have more impact for the causes that I believe in. I want to be able to leave my children something. And it isn't too late. I love what you said. It is not too late. These are the days where we have a lot more wisdom. We know ourselves a little bit more. Maybe we don't recognize all of those archetypes because we didn't know it. But now listening to you, we can say, okay, there's work to be done. But I can do it.
Totally. Julia, got an extra one. Talk about money to your family.
Right.
My mum grew up with her issues around money, which she passed down to me. I always spoke to her before she passed away. She passed away 4 years ago. And I said to her, Mum, is your stuff in order? And she said to me, yes, it's in the red file. Everything's in order. I was giving her money every single month, which, because she couldn't come out with her money, she didn't have enough. And when she passed away, I went to South Africa to go and organize the funeral and sort out the affairs. When I got to her, she was in a retirement home, to the red file, there was nothing in the red file. I went to the bank because I thought, well, I'm sending her this much money every month. There's money in the bank. She couldn't have used all this money. I'm going to use this money to pay for the plot and the funeral costs and the service, etc. Besides the tombstone and all the other stuff, I'm going to go to the bank. The bank told me that my late brother, who had passed away 5 years before my mom, was the beneficiary of her account. She never changed it in her eyes because my brother was a boy, a guy. He knew more about money than I did. My brother was still alive when I was already coaching. She made him the beneficiary. I couldn't do a thing. I had to leave. I was told that I could go to the Supreme Court and have the thing turned over. And I thought, I don't have the energy for this. I've just lost my mom. I couldn't care, so I'll pay more bills. And I just paid everything that I needed to pay.
So it's not doing no one a service to just put it all under the carpet. We should have our affairs in order. We owe it to ourselves to have our affairs in order, but we certainly owe it to those around us or after us, let's say. Ilana, thank you very much for that. I mean, there's so much more I would have wanted to ask you about all of this. I think the biggest things I'm going to take away is that we can find out what is running in the background. Once we have that awareness, we can be given the tools to change that. And today is the best day for the rest of our lives that really take action on that. So I will certainly encourage people to take your money quiz online, which is free, to have a bit of an idea of what archetypes are there, and then to do something about it.
Absolutely.
Right? Because we live in a society where we need this money. And I think we also feel much better. I know when I do go outside my comfort zone and really start owning money, claiming money, something shifts in me too. That I feel that I'm finally almost 57 growing up. So there we are. It's never too late. Ilana, thank you very much. Any last word you wanted to say?
Just, if you haven't had the talks with your family, have the talk. Do something about it. It's not somebody else's responsibility, it's yours.
True, very true. Very true. And we're also teaching the next generation, right? So it wasn't because we were brought up in a certain way that we should keep replicating this. It's up to us to be the change that we want to see, right? Ilana, thank you very much. Lots of food for thought, all of you. Go and do the quiz. I'm going to do it too. And then let's look after our money and have a very beautiful, healthy and thriving relationship with money. Thank you all. Speak to you again this time next week.